What's going on, everybody? Almost Counts Collectibles here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the original Beast Wars Transformers Rock Bubble release action figures. Now, I only have the figures in front of us that originally appeared in the show, so there are some other released figures that were debuted with a Rock Bubble or Rocky Bubble, whichever you want to call it, that we're not going to take a look at today because personally I really don't collect many of those. There's a very small amount of the Beast Wars figures that never appeared on the TV show that I actually collect. Mainly, I'm only interested in the ones that actually had an appearance in the television series. Now, when I say that, I mean the American release. Later on, Beast Wars was released in Japan, and it even had additional spin-offs that we never got in America, such as Beast Wars 2, Beast Wars Neo, and throughout those, cartoon shows, most, if not all, of the released toys that we got here in America found their way into those shows. They made them into the show. Sometimes they were slightly repainted or recolored or something of that nature, but just about all of the released toys did appear in a show in some way, shape, or form in Japan. But I'm mainly talking about the American release show and the characters that we saw in those. So I have in front of us 6 of the characters that appeared in Beast Wars Transformers that were released in the Rock Bubble, and we're going to take a look at each one, and then we will take a look at the changes that they made to the packaging after this first initial wave of release, when they changed the Rocky Bubble to the more smoother bubble, and they even made changes to the card, which honestly I thought the original was much better, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it. So the first one up that we're actually going to take a look at, and in this particular video, we're not going to be looking at the figures out of packaging, even though I do have all of them out of the packaging. We will do that review in a separate video of the figures themselves. This is mainly just for a collectible standpoint with the actual packaging of the original Rock Bubbles. Now, you can see here, when I say Rock Bubble or Rocky Bubble, whichever one you want to call it, this is what it means when it's referred to as that. It is not a nice, smooth, round blister bubble. The bubble inside actually looks like a very jagged piece of rock, kind of a prehistoric, rock fossil kind of thing going on here, which I thought was very interesting and very cool. But that is what we mean when we talk about that. Now, the original figures, if you'll notice down here in the bottom, also depicted a transformation sequence of each Maximal or Predacon. And you can see they start off in beast form, and then there's a midway transformation all the way up to their robot form. Now, all of the figures, with the exception of 2 that we're going to look at, are deluxe figures. Figures were initially released in 4 different sizes, and they all varied in price point from anywhere from $5 all the way up to $20. So the basic small figures were around the $5 price point. They were just a basic small figure, and all of those figures also had pretty much a one-action transformation. Then we get up to the next class, which is what the majority of these figures are, which is the deluxe class, and these retailed at about $10. Then you moved up to the ultra class, which was, it moves on to the mega class, which was about the $15 price point, and then you get up to the ultra class, which was the $20 figures, which when Beast Wars first debuted were Optimus and Megatron. So right here we have Dinobot, personally one of, if not my favorite Beast War character out of all of the seasons of Beast Wars was Dinobot, and you can see down here, there's the transformation that we talked about. It says Deluxe Dinobot, but let's go ahead and talk about the card real quick. So the back of the card, you will notice, looks kind of like the scales of some sort of creature, and then behind the actual figure itself is an eyeball that you can see right there in the middle staring at you. And it is very pronounced. The scales on the card are very easy to see. And then, of course, you have the animated picture of the individual itself. And then up at the very top, you can see right here that it says the name of the individual character. So that is the Rock Bubble release. That is what the card looked like. This is what the actual Rocky Bubble looks like, and this is Dinobot. We will take a closer look at the back and that here in a second. But before we move on, I will show you exactly the changes that they made. And I'm going to do that with Terrasaur real quick, and we'll come back and do a review of Terrasaur, but I'm just going to do this for comparison. So over here to the right, we have the original Rocky Bubble release of Terrasaur with the pronounced scaling on the card itself back there. And then over here to the left, we have the re-release Smooth Bubble. Now, as you can see, the bubble is very rounded and smooth. It's no longer this jagged rock-looking bubble. The picture at the bottom no longer depicts a series of transformations. It only has them in their robot form, and it has a little arrow showing you that this beast form right here converts into this robot form. So that's another thing I didn't like. I very much liked the sequence of transformation at the bottom, but they did away with that, and they just put one picture there now. The figure itself is exactly the same, although it is now faced in a different direction. And the bubble is now rounded and smooth, which we already talked about. But the most glaring difference besides the bubble is the card itself. Now, the picture of the actual character is now a little bit smaller. As you can see over here to the right, he is depicted in a much more magnified view. Although it is the exact same picture, it is just much smaller on the new ones. But you will notice that the scaled effect is blurred out and a lot more bland on these newer cards. Over here in the background, you can clearly see how defined the picture was, and it looks 10 times better than this new remade version. It's a lot more plain, it's a lot more bland, it's a lot more boring. So I was not a big fan of it. I'm sure they probably changed to this because it probably saved a little bit of money maybe with the way that it was manufactured, with the way that the bubble is, the mold for that, even maybe the way the card was printed maybe ended up being a little bit cheaper. I'm not sure. But if there was no real reason for this change, as far as saving money or any further reasoning behind it, I thought they made a very bad move in doing this, because it honestly just doesn't look as good. One of the other main differences is you will see a warning sign right here that they've moved over here to the lower corner just below the Beast Wars logo. It used to be up in the very top left. You will also notice that it says Evil Predacon Terrasaur on the newer released bubbles, and on the older one it simply says Terrasaur. So it does not say Predacon. So that is the main difference between the two. I just wanted to point that out real quick. We will take a look at the back just so you can see the differences. There really isn't much difference in the back of the cards. We still get the same depiction for the most part. Now with the newer one, there are a few characters added because of the additional transformers and the waves that were released. That were not released with the original release of the Rock Bubbles. So you will see characters down here, such as Insection, that you will not find on the older one. You also have Snapper, that was released additionally, that was not released in the original one. It also indicates that Megatron is part of a 2-pack, instead of it just saying Megatron over here. On top, we saw the release of Rhinox, Wolffang, Armadillo, and yeah, that's it. Razor Beast was already released. So we got those additional ones as well. The transformation pictures and instructions for the most part are exactly the same, besides a little bit of text over here. The card, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I would have to read all of the fine print, but the actual bio and tech spec cards are the same. They are just located in a different spot. It is now up higher on the newer released ones. So that's the main differences on the back. They basically just moved some things around, and they added the newer Beast Wars figures that were released between these two different releases right here. So we're going to go ahead and take these down we'll go back to Dinobot. So here we have Dinobot. Once again, one of my favorite Beast Wars of all time. Thought he was absolutely amazing in the show. Loved his character. Here is the back of Dinobot's card. We have the transformation sequence over here. Now you will notice with the deluxe classes, apart from the smaller ones, their transformation instructions are a little more in depth. Because for the most part, the other Transformer Beast Wars in the small class are pretty much a one-step transformation for the most part. But you do have a lot more steps when you move up to the deluxe class and you get higher up, of course. Over here we have Dinobot's tech specs. If you want to get a close look at those numbers, there they are. He is very high in courage and speed. And that is the Rock Bubble release of Dinobot. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our other small class, and this is Rat Trap. So you will see down here at the bottom, we still have the 3-step transformation. We have the depiction of Rat Trap up here, and then we have the Rat Trap figure itself. And then up at the top, of course, it just says Rat Trap. So here is Rat Trap. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. And with our small class, once again, for the most part, it's a single lever tail action to get him to transform, and then you can take his weapon that's stored right here underneath his leg, folds out, put his weapon together, stick it in his hand. Right over here we have Rat Trap's technical specs. So he is the highest in courage and speed, which is kind of funny that his courage is one of his his highest marks, because a couple times in the Beast Wars episodes, he was not about running out in front of fire to get the mission done. He would rather tell his boss Optimus that he can go out there and get scrapped. So yeah, that's kind of funny. But anyway, Rat Trap was a very heroic character. I did absolutely love Rat Trap. But then again, I loved the Beast Wars in general. One of my favorite television shows in the 90s, aside from maybe Power Rangers, which I'm a huge fan of. But Beast Wars Transformers really brought me into the Transformers universe, because I wasn't really old enough in the 80s to get into Transformers too much. But once I watched this and I made it through all 3 seasons, it made me want to go back and check out all of the Generation 1 Transformer shows and the lore there and the characters and all that. So Beast Wars is what really brought me into the Transformers world. So there is our Rat Trap. We're going to go ahead and put him aside. Let's go ahead and check out Tarantulas. One of my favorite Predacons is Tarantulas here. So once again, we have the transforming action down here at the bottom, Deluxe Tarantulas with shooting web launcher. We have our depiction of Tarantulas up here. And at the top, of course, it says Tarantulas. So we're going to go ahead and get a little side view look. Now, one of the funniest things is, as far as the advertisements go, Tarantulas is one of the most different as far as what they depict his toy to look like and what he actually looks like. Now, it's not spot on, but his coloring on the actual toy is pretty close to the show. But as you will see in this 3-step transformation down here, and I will also show you on the back, it depicts Tarantulas in a very clear, almost orange color throughout his entire body, instead of his legs, of course, which are a solid black. But I always wondered why they made his toy look like that in the pictures. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at his tech specs. So his strength is very high. His intelligence is a 4, which I don't understand that at all. Tarantulas was very crafty. He was very intelligent in the show. He was pretty much the scientist of the group. He was always coming up with these crazy inventions and this, that, and the other. So it's very shocking to see his intelligence rating on his bio card that low. I mean, it's extremely low. If anything, the 2 to 4 range should have been Waspinator and Terrasaur, because even as deceptive and you know, as sneaky as Terrasaur tried to be, he was not very smart at all. But yeah, that's very surprising about Tarantulas with his intelligence being that low. He's right up there with Megatron in my book as far as one of the more clever, intelligent Predacons. So that is Tarantulas. And you will even notice in his actual picture of him, he's kind of an orange color, but at least they got the toy right and pretty close to his show accurate coloring. But that is Tarantulas. All right, next up, we're going to check out Cheetor. So this is our Rock Bubble Cheetor. We've got our 3-step transformation down here at the bottom, Deluxe Cheetor, Cheetor up here at the top, and we have our Rock Bubble Cheetor. Now, Cheetor, if I'm not mistaken, probably has the most variants out of all of the Beast Wars Transformers. And they're not huge glaring differences. They are the color of his eyes. So the original Rock Bubble release Cheetor has blue eyes. The Smooth Bubble reissue of Cheetor in the later waves without the Rock Bubble had red eyes. And there were also green eye variants. So it depends on which actual wave Cheetor was released in. First was the blue, and then I'm pretty sure that red was the next one with the initial release of the Smooth Bubbles, and then the final run of Cheetor in the Smooth Bubble release was green eyes, which I think the most common and most produced were the green eye Cheetor. Obviously the blue eye Cheetor, with it being the Rock Bubble, was just the initial release, and then they didn't make any more of those. And then the next waved release of the Smooth Bubble was red eyes. And then the last one that probably was re-released the most until they were done with it was the green eye Cheetor. Now, if I'm mistaken about that and I'm wrong and the order is different, please let me know down in the comments. But I'm pretty sure that red was second, green was last, and green had the most of them created. But the Rock Bubble here, he has blue eyes. They probably look a little black in the camera, but they are actually a very dark blue. So this is Cheetor's Rock Bubble release. We'll flip it around here. He is a deluxe, so of course we have more instructional steps here. And then over here's his bio card, which we will get a little bit closer look at here. So strength 6, okay, agree with that. Intelligence 5, he was very teenager-ish and doing some silly things. Speed, of course, is a 10. Endurance 8. Courage was a 9. He was very foolish, which made him pretty brave at some points. Firepower and skill. Of course, speed is definitely should have been up there, 9 or 10, and endurance an 8. But I feel like Cheetor should definitely be the fastest out of all of the original released you know, Beast Wars that first debuted in the show, because, I mean, he was a cheetah and he was very fast. However, I feel like Dinobot should have been a 9.5 or a 10 as well. Now, Dinobot was, I believe, a 9 on speed, so it's really not that big a deal. Let's go ahead and take another look here. He was a 9. So, you know, I feel like he should have been a little higher than that. I mean, he is a Velociraptor. And I'm not a dinosaur expert, but I'm pretty sure that they were some of the fastest dinosaurs and could probably keep up with a cheetah. But yeah, I mean, a 9, I'm not going to complain about that. That's not as huge of a thing as Tarantulas having a intelligence rating of 4, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But Cheetor is pretty spot on with his specs. I'm not really going to argue with those. So that is our Cheetor. And once again, we'll take a look at the individual figures later as far as their transformation, their weapons, all that good stuff. This is more or less just looking at the packaging. Next, let's go ahead and check out Waspinator. So here we have our Waspinator. We've got our 3-step transformation down here. Deluxe Waspinator with shooting sting launcher. We have our depiction of Waspinator. It says Waspinator up there at the top. Once again, we've got our rocky bubble. So let's go ahead, turn them around. We've got all of our instructional steps here. And let's check out Waspinator's specs. So we have an 8 for strength, intelligence of 5, speed of 8, endurance 5, rank 6, courage 7, firepower 7, and skill 6. Now, some of the things that stand out here is a strength of 8. I don't really understand why Waspinator is being ranked as one of the strongest Beast Wars. That clearly is inaccurate. Intelligence of 5, he is actually smarter than Tarantulas. Now, if anybody can tell me that they agree that Waspinator was more intelligent than Tarantulas, I would really love to know if you agree with that. Because I think that is ridiculous. Speed of 8, that is also very shocking because he's a B. He's really not that fast. If anything, Terrasaur should be twice as fast as him. But he's not far behind Dinobot on speed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about that one. The other ones, sure. But that strength and intelligence, I mean, his intelligence should definitely be a 5 or lower, but the fact he's rated higher than Tarantulas is crazy. And his strength, is kind of out there as far as being an 8. But that is our Rock Bubble Waspinator. And they actually, I mean, yeah, that's pretty spot on. I was looking at what they depicted Waspinator's character to look like on the actual preview. That's pretty close to exactly what he looks like. So, yeah. All right, we're going to move on and check out Terrasaur one last time. So here's our Terrasaur. I know we kind of already saw Terrasaur, but we'll get a little bit better look at him here. Let's go ahead and check out his tech specs, because now I'm getting real curious. I've never paid much attention to these before. A strength of 6, intelligence 5, speed of 8. So they have him as the exact same speed as Waspinator, which makes no sense to me. Endurance 4, rank 6, courage 7, firepower 5. Hold on, I gotta look at Waspinator now to see what his firepower was. So Waspinator had a firepower of 7. And Terrasaur's got a firepower of 5. If anything, Terrasaur should have been the 7. I mean, he has an individual gun. He has cannons that come out on his shoulders. And in the, I forget what episode it was, you know, he even got supercharged, almost became invincible. So, and he was just blasting things out of the sky and destroying stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like those should have been reversed. Speed, okay, I'm not going to argue with a speed of 8. He should be pretty fast, but Waspinator should definitely not be as fast as him. And he's not, I mean, I don't know if they're going off of the class of toy it was and not really paying attention to the show, but why he is 2.0 less strong than Waspinator, yeah, I don't know about that one either. And he's also smarter than Tarantulas. So we've got the two dum-dums, in my opinion, on the whole team, rated higher in intelligence than the scientist. So yeah, we got that going on. All right, I'm gonna stick this back here. Let's take a look at Rat Trap one more time. He had an intelligence of 7. Rat Trap has a speed of 8. I didn't really notice I didn't take too much notice to that before when we looked at this, but he's a rat. He's a small rat, and they have him at an 8 speed. All right, people, come on now. Tell me that that's correct, and that you think Rat Trap should have a speed of 8. I cannot believe that. Now we're going to look at Tarantulas again. We got a whole debate going on now. Intelligence 4, speed of 7. Firepower, skill. I mean, at least his skill is high. But, man, I can't get over that 4.0 intelligence. He's the dumbest one out of all of these, and I think he should have been one of the smartest ones out of all these. But, I don't know. That's just me. Well, let's have fun and talk about it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the original Rock Bubble packaging of the Beast Wars figures. And let's spark some debate and talk about these tech specs for these guys, because I think a lot of these guys got, you know, a very big injustice is going on here with some of the ratings that these characters got on their tech specs. I think some of them are insanely backwards, but we'll talk about that later. Let me know what you guys think about these awesome figures. Let me know what you think about those awesome tech specs and where they were at. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot more Beast Wars stuff. And now that the collectible room is almost done, we're going to be doing a lot more reviews and discussions, period. My next video will probably be my favorite non-show characters. So, as I kind of mentioned before, I really only collect the characters that actually appeared in the TV show as far as toys and things like that go. But there are a few, 5 to be exact, non-show Beast Wars Transformers toys that I still have and that I love. And we'll go over why. But I really loved the toys and the characters, and I'll show you guys which of my 5 non-show appearance Beast Wars were my favorite. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this this particular episode here, and until next time, everybody, I will see you next video.